Okay, we're live.
All right, thank you, Jill. All right, so I haven't said a prayer yet in one of these meetings, so I'll go ahead and offer it. Dear Heavenly Father, we're thankful for this day. We're thankful for the opportunity that we have to study together as a group and learn from each other and gain perspective from one another. We're thankful for BYU Idaho and the disciple training center it is, and for the experiences that we are gaining as we learn and grow together. We ask you, Father, to guide this conversation tonight with thy spirit and help us to learn as much as we can that we can apply to our own lives and learn from these discussions. We love thee, Father, and ask for these blessings and give thanks in the name of thy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
All right. Okay. Well, great case study this week. It was very interesting. So we'll just dive into it. I think I want to there are a lot of questions that are on this one, and in the instructions we're told not to go through all of them, but I've selected a couple of them so that we can, for the sake of time, keep it under an hour here. But I want to just kind of read a couple of the main questions, and hopefully as we go through the other questions, you can keep these thoughts in your mind and we can maybe come back to them at the end. So just four thought-provoking questions. How did Rinaldi get into this mess? What is the situation? And think deeper than just what's on the surface. How did it come about? And again, what's how let's try to get deeper than what's the most obvious. And then what should she do at this point? And I think we'll get to that last question right at the end. I'll share our decision on what we think she should do. So let's go ahead and does anybody want to just give like a 3-minute overview of what's happening in this case study?
I'll try to see 3 minutes.
All right, go for it, Jill.
Okay. She started out working at Deep Dive Pizza, and I think she had a lot of success there, but for some reason she doesn't have a lot of confidence in herself. She's looking for a big corporation to work for, and she doesn't think she wants to make her career there at the pizza place. It's a regional pizza place. It's not corporate. It's not a national chain. I think it could be a national chain one day, though. I think she's overlooking the possibilities of her staying there and helping it grow to a national chain. I think that's something that I pointed out in my case study that I wrote up. She goes on to work at Potomac Waters, and I think she put a lot into it. She was looking for a lot more there and was expecting a lot more out of working there. She got a lot of great expectations from people she had talked to, thinking that she would get a lot of training, a lot of mentoring and so forth. And unfortunately, she was put into a department where Natalie Follett, I think is her name, was her manager. And Natalie really, according to the case study, Natalie was a great employee and I guess a star performer. And so they put her in the position of being a manager, but she really wasn't a manager or a leader of people. She needed training herself. And so she really did not, I think she was overwhelmed when Martha came into her department. She really did not know how to manage her or how to welcome her in or bring her in and make her a part of the team. Her and Jamie Vaughn were a team, and it was kind of implied that maybe they were more than a team. They had maybe a personal relationship. I'm not quite sure, but I don't think Martha ever felt a part of the team. And as a matter of fact, they used her more as an administrative assistant and not really a contributing part of the team. And so I think Martha was doing the best she could. She was trying to be a team player. When she helped with another department, she was actually kind of scolded and said that she needed to work on her own department's work and not help with other departments. And she was kind of amazed by that she would even get in trouble for doing that. So to me, she's almost in a spot of, she's damned if she does, and she's damned if she doesn't, sort of a thing. She doesn't want to stay where she is. She's not getting the training that she wants. She's not getting to contribute like she wants to. Anything she does, or if she complains, she looks like she's a complainer, not a team player. So she is kind of stuck. She doesn't know what to do. She wants to work on a national corporate level. She wants that more than working at Deep Dive Pizza. She's not willing to go back to Deep Dive Pizza at this point, and so she's just in a quandary. So how's that?
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay.
All right. So next, we're going to talk a little bit about a little more about the characters in the story, some of the people that we learned about. So let's go through. Let's try to all keep our comments to a minute or so. And let's just talk about some of these characters. So we're going to just go by the order that I've got you guys on my screen here. Herb's first, then Jill, then Liliana, then Richard, and myself. So let's talk about Follett first. Natalie, the manager. What was her contribution? What is going on with her? What is kind of what you're pulling from this case study about her?
So I think she starts disappointing Rinaldi right from the get-go. Typically, when an employee starts on the first day, they should be welcomed. They should be made feel comfortable, and most people they should have a task to be planned. I'm sorry, a note just popped up that my mic is muted. Can you hear me?
Yeah, muted for like 3 seconds, and then you're back.
Okay.
So we're good.
I'm sorry. So anyway, so on the first day, a new employee certainly should feel welcomed. Their workstation should be ready. They should have some assignment to get familiar with their position. It almost seemed like Natalie was inconvenienced by Rinaldi showing up. I'm not sure if there was miscommunication about her starting day, because both what's the guy's name? Jamie and Natalie both kind of mentioned that they were surprised she was already starting on that day. So I think right from the get-go, Natalie kind of didn't meet the expectation of what an involved manager should do, and then just continued from there. There was really no hand-holding. She worked remotely, told Natalie that, told Rinaldi, Martha, that she would be in charge, not to listen to Jamie, but yet in the long run, it really turned out that she was more or less Jamie's personal assistant, and then it didn't get any better, including a 90-day review, which is always a good opportunity to let a new employee know where they stand. Didn't take place, and Natalie almost seemed annoyed when Martha called her on that and asked for a review.
Thank you, Jill.
Okay. In addition to what I had previously said, I think that Jamie and Natalie both were envious of her MBA. I think the program that they were starting, where they were hiring MBAs, possibly, I don't know, Natalie maybe was jealous. I'm not quite sure. It never really said that, but she never really took Martha seriously. I think she was definitely overwhelmed. But instead of welcoming her in and making her a part of the team, she felt like she was burdened by Natalie. And again, I just think she was not trained to be a leader. She was not trained to be a manager. She looked at Natalie as someone who was another task, another on her list of things to do, which seemed to be already an overburdened task. The hiring procedures at Potomac Waters needs to definitely be revised. The fact that Natalie was not involved in the hiring and getting to know Martha, I think I've never seen a company that would hire someone to work for someone else when they've never met before. I'm sure that's done in some places. but I have never seen that before. So I think that Natalie should have been involved in the hiring process too if she was going to have someone new working her department. I really don't have anything else much more to say about Natalie, except she maybe needs to not be the manager of the department, and they need to either make her a mentor or a team lead and not really a manager of the department until she gets some training in that area.
Perfect. Thank you. Liliana, thoughts?
Yes, I want to add the background of Natalie. Her degree is in art. She started her career as a designer in New York. Then, because of her husband's new contract, she moved to Washington, and there are no too much opportunity for her as an artist. That's why she was happy to find a job with the Potomac Water. So I believe she is not identified with the company. She don't feel good working there. Maybe that's one of the reasons that she's working part-time for home. I feel sad that the main way of communication with Marta is by email. She don't want to interact personally with her. This is what I want to say about Natalie.
Perfect. Thank you. Go ahead, Richard.
So yeah, I also noticed that kind of about her education background too. But the main thing that I thought about her was that, like everybody else has said before, that I put her on the back burner and never really actually, made her feel comfortable. And then on top of that, it was more whenever she did have a question or a concern, she went to her and then she said, "Oh, just go to I can't think of the guy's name, but go Vaughn, right?" But she always just kind of redirected him to somewhere else, and it was never really made her feel comfortable. And on top of that, it was I have the same agreement that she probably really shouldn't have been in that position as a manager, because she didn't know how to manage much. If there was that much workload to do between the three of them, obviously there was probably somebody slacking between the three. So that was just kind of my outlook on it. It just she just and not really did much about how
Richard, your mic muted.
what's that?
Sorry, your mic muted. We couldn't hear the last probably 2 sentences you said.
Oh, I was just saying that Jean, and that she really didn't make her feel too comfortable within the workplace. Really kind of just pushed her aside, and just I don't think that she should have been. That's it.
Thank you. Yeah, I think you guys covered it pretty well. I think the key thing is I don't think that Natalie's happy in her position. I just can't see it, and especially with her art background and everything. But just the way that she interacts with other people, she's only in the office half the time anyway. The responses to emails are just short sentences and stuff. She's not really, she's not committed, I think, to her role in the company. So I think just overall she's not happy, and I don't know why. I don't think we're given a lot of reason why she wouldn't be, but there's something going on. And that was kind of my thoughts on it. Let's talk about Vaughn next. Jamie Vaughn, kind of his contribution in this situation. And let's actually mix it up. Let's go Liliana, then Richard, then Herb, then Jill, just so that we can get different people different chances to say things.
Okay.
So go ahead, Liliana.
Yes, about Jaime Bow, I also checked her background. His degree is in mathematics. He worked for several government positions, but then they decide to quit and find a better paycheck. That's why he joined this big corporation. I believe he is arrogant. He wants to have a Natalie position. He think that he belong, that the next promotion belong to him. That's why he is biased against all the new, younger MBA. He think they are opportunists. They don't know about the company. I guess he's biased.
Thank you, Richard. Can't hear you, Richard.
Keep on forgetting to unmute it. But what I noticed with him, like Liliana was saying, was that he had the background educationally. It wasn't the standard, but honestly, I couldn't. I really didn't get much positive about him. I don't know if you guys read anything that I missed, but all I got was that he was very rude and didn't want to work as a team. And yeah, I mean, it brought down the whole product line, as far as what they were supposed to be doing, thing accomplished, because he was kind of the main fault in all of that. That's what I got from him. Maybe I'm just being biased, but that's what I saw anyway. So
Perfect. Thanks, Herb. Herb, do you want to share your thoughts on Jamie next?
Sure. I think Jamie just kind of worked his way up, similar to Natalie. Obviously has a mind for numbers. I'm a little surprised that he did not participate in that. I think it was return of investment analysis that Martha ran. But so him being a little older than Martha, I think he feels intimidated that she has a higher degree than him. And that probably also adds to Natalie's discomfort with Martha. And I think he just views Martha as a cheap help, and doesn't give her the respect that she deserves, and doesn't involve her as much as he should. Obviously, in his position, he's also one level above Martha, and probably just feels justified treating her like that.
Thank you. Go ahead, Jill.
Okay. In addition to what everyone else says, I totally agree that he feels intimidated by Martha. And even though he is a position above, I think he should treat her more like a peer and not like a clerical assistant. I thought it was kind of funny when she pushed back on doing the PowerPoint redos that he wanted her to do, and he had already given her another assignment, and she kind of pushed back on that. He went to Natalie to complain that she wasn't doing what he wanted her to do. And so I thought that was really kind of childish to get your boss involved in something like that with something that they two should have worked out themselves. And so it was almost like Natalie and he were teaming up against her, and that definitely was not a good thing to show. They were not, I don't think either one of them were being fair to Martha and giving her a chance. She finally had enough gumption to speak up, and they should have listened to her, I think, and listened to her concerns and really paid attention to what she was trying to tell them. And Jamie just wasn't having it. Seemed like he was doing anything he could to possibly demean her or make her work look like it wasn't as valuable as it was, even though they used her a lot for the presentation, where they got a lot of kudos for the work that she had done, and her name was not brought up in the presentation at all as far as having contributed to the presentation or even being a part of their team that presented the that made the good presentations. So Jamie is just not looking at her as a valuable team member. Okay, I think he just wants her to go away.
I agree with what's been said. Thanks, guys. I think one other thing that really just surprises me is how Vaughn actually, yelled at Rinaldi in the one situation, and in front of all of their peers as well. And just really, that's just an embarrassing, awkward situation. And everyone, when Rinaldi was talking about it with others, it was like they weren't really surprised that it happened. He was they said that he had a reputation for being difficult, and that's sad. I like the word childish that's been used, and I have a hard time believing that he is happy, in his job. I think he's more focused on his own ego and his own goals and his own success than the teams or the companies, and that's just it's not healthy in a corporate environment. He's never going to find the success he wants if he's not on the same page as someone else. So finally, let's talk about Rinaldi, and let's talk about kind of some of the things that Rinaldi has done in these situations, her behavior. I don't think she's the one that's instigated a lot of things, but I think that there's some things that she could have done differently as well. And that's kind of what we're supposed to talk about in this next portion here. Let's talk about Rinaldi's contribution, her behavior, and the outcomes, and kind of how she's fed the fire a little bit. Do you want to go first, Richard?
Sure. Yeah, I took it off mute this time. But I think a lot of it has to do with her passive. What is it? The word passive aggressive. She just kind of like lets things happen to her without ever actually saying something. And I think it's because that she was new to her position, and she was kind of warned at the beginning that she shouldn't be that employee that gets ahead of herself, and just because she's a new graduate, and like I think she was told that she's part of the newer generation, and that that she shouldn't be part of that norm of that generation. But I just it kind of bugged me actually reading about how she was just being kind of like stepped on the whole way along the path, and never really saying anything as she went. It was more I can't imagine not saying anything as like she did. at least being able to have, speak up and speak your mind and stand up for what you're doing. Like I think the final point that, that she made was the PowerPoint. You can't ask somebody to do two things of them to get done at the same time. And, I think she really, at that point, she really should have said something like, instead of just being told like, hey, sometimes we get busy and things just get done. Well, yeah, that's a good point, but in reality, that's not true. Like, things just don't get done. Like, there's a process to them, and that they were just completely ignoring that. So, I think, like you were saying, it was never really on her, but there was times that I think she should have stood up for herself and made a stand, and maybe that would have stopped the things that followed. So.
Thanks, Herb. Sorry, Richard. Herb, do you want to go next?
Yeah, I mean, I think what we have to remember is that, one, Martha is still young. It looks like she didn't really have much professional experience, even during her studies. And the first few days at a new job are always uncomfortable, and you kind of follow the lead of your manager and your coworkers. And both her coworker and her manager being so unprepared for her arrival, I think kind of caught her off guard. And then the question is always, when do you raise your voice? When do you find your own voice? When do you finally realize that it's time for you to speak up for what kind of treatment you rightly deserve? And that's always difficult, especially, again, given her age, given her relatively new stature in this profession. Honestly, I'm surprised that she lasted there for over 3 months. If I were in her shoes, I probably would have spoken up and either reached out to HR or to what's the gentleman's name, the director of marketing, Bernaldi. No, that's her name. Anyways, whatever his name was. And then honestly, if I would have not seen an improvement after 60 days, I would have gone back to Deep Dive Pizza, where she obviously was much more appreciated, where she had a lot more freedom to really contribute. From what I read in the case study, I don't think Martha ever really was given opportunity to live up to her potential. She was just a gopher. And about the only thing she ever got to shine was the what was the presentation about? I can't remember now. I want to say it was a return of investment report that she was a part of. She didn't get any kind of recognition. It was all more behind the scenes, but not in front of the group. So I think Natalie and Paul Jamie really did her a disservice. Anyways.
Thank you. Jill, thoughts?
There's probably not too much more to add to what everyone's already said, but I think Martha is definitely lacking in self-confidence in herself. She has a lot to give, and she will learn that as time goes on, but she just doesn't realize it right now. I thought it was very telling when she saw, I think his name was Doug Berman, and she was really excited to see him, and she kind of ran up to him, and in the case study states he just kind of brushed by her because it was a business setting. The interview was over, she was hired, and she was just like a little child wanting to get kudos from someone who was too busy to stop and pat her little head and send her on her way. I thought that was very telling, and she acted very disappointed that he didn't acknowledge her because it's a professional setting. I mean, I think she expected a lot more than what she got. Martha, to me, is just one of those young college students who will be great. She just needs to get a little experience under her belt. And she just needs to know that she's already good. She just doesn't have that self-confidence that she needs. And she will get it, I have a feeling.
Thank you. Liliana, do you have any thoughts you want to add to that?
Oh, sure. Yes. Okay. Yes, I like what all you said about this young. I like her background because she was the first in her family to get a degree, and she need to work hard to pay for school. For me, she's a really hard worker. Just need to be more confident in herself. She had experience with her father doing website and bookkeeping. So I think she had experience, but because she don't feel confident, because she has fear of conflict, she don't be that kind of employee that make complaints. The people will see her in the bad way. So she stay quiet. She don't want to confront the reality, to talk straight with others, especially with Natalie or Jamie. For sure, she needs more experience, but she have all the potential. I believe she needs to stay in the company to grow. 1, 2 people is not the whole company, because she got a really good feeling with Batista, like you said, the director, and with other manager, with the peers, because she interacts with other departments. The only problem is when these 2 people on her team. So I guess she needs more time to interact better with Natalie and Jamie.
Thank you. So, yeah, I hadn't actually had a lot of the same thoughts that you guys did, but I do appreciate some of the experience, because I'm closer to Martha's age, so I feel like in my short career up to this point, I can kind of relate to where she's at in her situation. But yeah, I think for sure she needs to learn to speak up, and I think the point was well made that she doesn't really know at what point she can speak up. Maybe with her experience at the pizza place, it seems like from the get-go she had a great time, she had a great experience, and so she probably has never faced conflict like that on a professional level. And so, well, we know she has it because her career experience is listed there. So it seems like she just needs to learn who are the people I need to talk to make a change, how do I make things happen. And I've actually been through a similar experience in my career. Again, I'm only 24, and so this is very relatable for me. But I really appreciate you guys' comments. I think actually I'm going to take a lot of it with me. So kind of before we share too much about our conclusions, what we think she should do, let's kind of talk about the 2 options. First, let's talk about if she decides that she's going to try to salvage the situation, how could she do that? What are the things she can do to repair the relationships with the other characters in the story? What are the advantages of staying, and what are some of the disadvantages? Jill, do you want to go ahead and start us out on this one?
Okay. The disadvantage of staying is I think she's in a no-win situation, unfortunately. In time, she could probably win Natalie and Jamie over. Hopefully they would see that she can really contribute some valuable information and be a team player. We can only hope that that would happen. She has to be careful about complaining or wanting to move to another department, because that'll put a bad mark in her book, in her record, that she's not a team player and that she, doesn't get along. She doesn't play well with others. That'll make her look bad. So, and she's unhappy. And when you're unhappy, when you're unhappy like she is, things will most likely just get worse as time goes on. She can continue trying to work with Natalie and Jamie, but they would really have to do some changing in order to accept her. The advantage, I think, of working at Deep Dive Pizza, going back to there, is she has a great opportunity to, they already welcomed her ideas, that she already had some great ideas when she helped educate the franchise owners on some things. She did some communication things for their suppliers, and they everything she did was fabulous for them, and they so appreciated it. So wasn't looking at the opportunities. She wanted the training, she wanted the mentoring, she wanted the different ways to be exposed to all different areas of marketing, and I think that's what she was looking for, and that's why she went to Potomac Waters. So that's my 2 cents.
Thank you, Liliana.
I got good news for her because this big company had a good policy. They interchange or rotate the managers every 12 months or 24 months. So maybe she got a new manager soon. On the other hand, I believe she did a lot of work doing the research about this Potomac water. She needs to believe in her studies. She will have a good opportunity in this big company, even a lower salary, but at the end, if she is able to communicate better with Natalie, remember Natalie will finish her part-time position soon, so she become full-time. So with more time, maybe they can start creating new relationship. I think she will be better soon. I got that feeling because, as I say, she's a hard worker, she's very smart, she has a lot of potential, but just need to overcome all those fears. Start giving her opinion, start participating more, not being so quiet on the meeting, because even Batista asked her for her opinions. So I guess this is what I think about what she can do.
Perfect, thank you. Richard?
Yeah, so that the advantages of her staying, is there's more opportunity there at that company. It was kind of made clear in the case study that she went there because of the opportunity and the security of the job market for that kind of work, which was beverages. It was saying that it had been planned that it was going to keep going strong and get even stronger over the next years and stuff. But and there was more opportunity. That bigger company, larger market, more opportunity. But at the same time, if she stays, she's going to have to deal with her uneasiness, her the things that have been going on. To me, it sounds like a kind of a company where people aren't really treated right and appreciated, more of the exterior management, I guess you would say, where, you know, the superiors always are better than the employees, and if you're on the bottom in superior and you really don't matter too much, and to me, I mean, I guess we're getting to the conclusions, but I think it'd be better for her to go, but we'll get there.
Thanks, Richard. Thoughts, Herb? Herb, you want to share your thoughts?
So just to confirm again, the question was what she could have done staying on with Potomac Water, right?
Yeah, how can she repair the
Okay.
situation, the relationships, and
So,
then what are advantages and disadvantages of staying?
Yeah, I think an easy way for her, without coming across as a complainer or whiner, would have been to approach Batista. Obviously, this whole MBA program was his idea and is one of his priorities, and maybe just seek out an opportunity to sit down with him, maybe over lunch or a cup of coffee or something, and just talk to him, kind of find out what his expectations are for the program, what her opportunities are within the company, and what she should expect from the program. Obviously, this perfect time to have the conversation would be before she gets hired on, but that's too late now. Anyways, I think it would be great for her to give him an opportunity to address that, and then come back in a respectful manner and say, look, this is the conversation we've had, but this is where I find myself in. How do you suggest I best address these issues? I honestly think it's highly questionable, the relationship that Natalie and Jamie have. She should give great thought to how to address that, and might even be time for her to talk to the HR department to have that situation addressed. I don't think if anything, they shouldn't be working together. But again, just like the other said, you know, not sure how much any of these steps would improve her situation, especially since it's been dragging on now. I think it was over 3 months when the case study ended.
Perfect, thank you. Yeah, I agree with what's been said. I think there are a lot of advantages to staying, but as far as repairing the situation goes, I know a lot of people don't like confrontation, but it's not something that I struggle with personally. And in her situation, I would have sent an email, as polite and kind and respectful as possible to Natalie, and just expressed my concerns, especially about the relationship, and say this is, I would like our relationship to be different, and then ask for an hour of her time, to sit down and talk about that. And she did mention in there that normally Natalie's not very receptive to meetings and stuff, but it seems like every time she's tried to have a conversation with her, it's kind of a swing by the office type thing. And by respecting the schedule and everything, and even, asking, like Herb suggested with a different person, but asking Natalie to go out for lunch or something like that, so that she can have a conversation with her and kind of talk about expectations and see what Martha can do to change her situation. I think that's where I would have started. From there, probably move on to having a conversation with Jamie, and then with other people as well. So let's go ahead and if you want to talk about maybe any other advantages to leaving Potomac Water, go ahead and share those thoughts, and then why don't you tell us what exactly you think she should do at this point, if she should leave or stay or what. So let's go ahead and start with Liliana.
Sure. As I said, I believe she needs to stay in the big corporation. She has more opportunity there, for sure.
Thank you. Herb, what do you think she should do?
I think what she should not have done is short-sold herself. I think she should have gone for Deep Dive Pizza to begin with. A great opportunity for her, especially coming up fresh out of school, and it would have looked great on her resume. She knew that that company was on the right track. She had great relationship with all the employees there, with the managers. Gave her a good farewell party, more money, but certainly so much more opportunity and potential. So if it's not too late, I would strongly encourage her to go back and take that job offer.
Thank you. Jill, your thoughts?
I definitely think she should go back to Deep Dive Pizza as well. I know money isn't always the driving force, but you know that's always an asset, and they are offering her more money. But she has a good opportunity at Deep Dive Pizza to take it somewhere. It's a company that's has some good potential. I think she could really contribute a lot and start some programs with them, start some employee, strategies to keep employees retention, employee incentives. I think she could just be on the ground floor of making a regional restaurant go national. If she would just look at it that way. I think she's being too small in her thinking, and she's not looking at the potential that could be there working with Deep Dive Pizza. They like her, they're encouraged by her, they like her ideas. And when you're in that kind of environment and people are encouraging you to be creative, and you do nothing but get better, and she would just blossom there. Now, if she outgrew that, which more than likely she would, then, going on to a more national chain or a big corporation later. But right now, I think she should go back to Deep Dive Pizza.
Thank you. So I know it wasn't a listed option, but I think that she should definitely explore other opportunities. I think she should investigate what it would take to change departments or teams. Probably, unless the stars were aligned, that's not a great option just because of the trust factor and the and kind of the reputation that it makes for her. But I think, having been there for 3 months, I don't think that I would personally make a definite decision yet, but I would start looking. I would look at other opportunities in other cities, or even there in the same city, or maybe back home in Chicago. I would, test the waters with the team at Deep Dive again and kind of see where she stands there with the staff and supervisors there. But I definitely think that she should explore other opportunities. It's interesting because they actually give us the story's ending in the discussion instructions here. It turns out that Follett and Vaughn both left the company shortly after. And Rinaldi learned that Follett had been job hunting during Rinaldi's time there. Rinaldi had 2 new bosses who admired her work and relied on her, and she was promoted ahead of schedule. So things worked out for her, It seems like, if she had followed my suggestion, she probably would have not had that opportunity, but I'm glad things worked out for her. So we're past 8 o'clock. We are starting at 7. We had a couple of minutes delay there, but I think we've had a solid discussion. So thank you guys for your thoughts. If there's if anyone else has any other thoughts they'd like to share, please speak now. Hold your peace.
Yeah, but it almost sounds like she didn't do anything and the situation just resolved itself. So
yeah, kind of just got lucky.
kind of speaks to Jill's point that she does not have any, or she does. I think she has confidence, but she does not have enough confidence. I think the environment of Potomac just kind of intimidated her. You know, big corporation, and she didn't want to misstep. So. But I'm glad they let us know what happened.
Agreed.
I enjoyed the discussion with everyone.
Okay. Thoughts, Liliana? We're good to go?
Yes, I really like this case. It was interesting. Thank you for your participation and your thought.
All right. Thank you, guys. Jill, if you want to go ahead and stop that and then